All right, so this Knife Thoughts video is going to be kind of a quick look at this knife, which is the Great Eastern Cutlery Tidioute Cutlery number 73 Scout Trapper, and this is the African Rosewood version. And first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to my friend Dan, who loaned this knife to me for this video. Dan got into knives recently, and really specifically GEC knives or traditional knives, and has really kind of taken a strong liking to them, and so he was kind enough to loan this knife. I actually don't have a 73 from this run yet. I do plan on getting the Remington version. So if you are interested in that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you know when I post the video on the Remington 73 that GEC has made, or the GEC 73 that they've made for Remington. But this video is on this one, and this is the first from this run that I've seen. Now, first of all, this knife is a Scout Trapper. So it is a scaled down version of the GEC 23. It's one of the first two patterns that Great Eastern Cutlery made. They made the number 23 pattern first, which is a larger version of this, and then the 73 pattern. And they've made it several different times throughout the years. Now, this run here in 2021 has several different versions, but like I said, this is the African Rosewood. And I'll tell you that, to be honest with you, the first thing that I noticed is that this African Rosewood is not really my favorite looking wood. It's got a lot of kind of, marks in it, which are part of the grain for sure, but aren't exactly my taste in wood. So not my favorite grain or even really color. It's kind of light colored. It doesn't have a whole lot of depth to the color. Some lines of a little bit darker, coloring in it, but definitely not my favorite color. Now, I do actually like the Tidioute shield. I grew up relatively near Tidioute and, canoeing and stuff there. So I do appreciate the Tidioute shield, though some people don't. Now, as for the construction of the knife, it's really well put together. You can see there's no gaps that I can tell here. The blades are well centered, and it does have pretty good pulls. Now, the main blade, which is a drop point, has what I'd call about a 5. Not super strong, not super light, but pretty near a 5. And then the secondary blade is actually a little bit lighter. So it's more, even maybe like a 3, 4, 3, maybe 3, we'll call it a 3.5. So definitely a lighter pull on that secondary blade, which is a spade blade, which is typical for this type of trapper. Now, the blades don't have an etch on this version, which I actually like. If you're gonna get this knife as a user, I think that the etch is gonna go away anyway when you use it. So not having an etch isn't a problem at all for me on this knife. One thing that I've seen a lot of people mention is that the tangs are flush on this knife. It's kind of one of the hallmarks of this pattern. The tang is flush with the top here, and then also when at half stop, it's pretty much flush. A little difference between this run of both the 73s and the previously run this year 23s, or actually that was last year, but the recent run of 23s is that the springs are pretty much flush at half stop also. Now, this is an older 73. This is casein, which is a very early synthetic knife I really like, but you can see that the tangs are flush at both close and half stop. But one of the issues with both the 73s and the 23s from previous runs is that the springs at half stop were pretty sunken. As you can see, it's pretty low there. So that's something that they did fix on this newer run. Now, I don't know if it's affected by that or not, but the pulls on this new run are definitely lighter than on previous runs of 73s I've seen. Not an issue for me. I do, like that the springs are more flush. As you can see, this one's maybe a little high, but not very high at all. This one is, again, slightly high, but definitely not as high as they were low on the previous runs. Now, I don't care a whole lot about a sunken spring or a high spring. I actually think I generally would prefer a sunken spring, but I do think it's a little bit nicer and shows that they've improved this pattern since the previous runs. Now, one thing about this knife that I do really like is just that it's a classic for GEC. So they've made several different runs of 73s before, and I think that it's great that they keep running them, but it's not my favorite blade shape combination. I really would have liked to have seen a single blade 73 run this year, as they did on the 23. Now on the 23, the single blade was a liner lock. It had the drop point blade and no secondary, but there was a liner lock. I would have loved to have seen a slip joint non-liner lock single bladed 73. I think that would make a really, really great everyday carry traditional knife, because it would be nice and slender. You get a really, really usable blade shape, and honestly enough blade for most EDC type tasks. So I wish that they would have made a single blade version, but I understand why they didn't, being that this two-bladed version is much more classic for this pattern. So overall, I think that it is a cool knife. I am looking forward to the Remington version myself. And if you're looking for a really classic trapper, then the Great Eastern Cutlery number 73 Scout Trapper is a good choice. To be honest, these ones have sold out pretty quickly like most GECs, but the Remington has not, and as of me making this video, it's still available and is up on Smoky Mountain Knife Works site and will be coming on other dealers' sites. So definitely maybe try to go for the Remington version, although a kind of caveat to that is that the Remington is a little bit more expensive than the GEC branded versions. But I hope you get one if you're looking for one. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel and click the bell so you know when I post new videos. Make sure you check out my social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Knife Thoughts, and my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife-related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.